In today's news, Safe Haven takes to the street in outreach ministry, and two remanded, two bailed on gun charges, and the New Life Baptist Church, they're celebrating 23 years of Power Plus Ministries.
And a BVI man shot dead in broad daylight, and we have a BVI teacher as well who is alleging that she's now hospitalized due to a mold infestation at the school. All that and so much more when Tweet 4 News returns.
How does financial services benefit the BVI? It's been around for more than 3 decades before the World Wide Web and is now part of the everyday life of our islands. More than 2,200 people are directly employed in financial services, and another 3,000 jobs are supported indirectly. Jobs are corporate service providers, lawyers, insolvency, accounting, banking, insurance, regulators. That's almost 27% of the national workforce. Of those, more than 65% are BVI landers and belongers. What about restaurants, supermarkets, or shops? Well, 100% of people eat. So, they buy food. They buy swimsuits and shampoo and cars and power tools and plantains and fish and roti and pates. Financial services employees buy painkillers and lots of beer. Then there's electricity and dental floss and toilet paper and pretty much everything else. And everyone needs a roof over their heads and a place to do business, so we all rent or buy from a local landlord. Housing and office space alone means millions of dollars into the pockets of BVI families. At the end of the day, everyone benefits, including charities who receive thousands of dollars every year. And more than 60% of all government revenues come from fees paid by financial services. This money is spent on schools, roads, ports, scholarships, the environment, health, sports, children, youths, and the elderly. Financial services contributes more than $290 million to the BVI economy. That's more than 30% of all economic activity is driven by financial services. This creates thousands of jobs all across the islands, meaning more people have a way to earn a living. What does financial services do for the BVI? Let's just say it keeps our lights on. Financial services is everybody's business. So, come on, mind your business and let's not keep this to ourselves.
Welcome everybody, it's Monday, November 9th, 2020. We are coming to you live and direct from our home, our paradise in Tortola, British Virgin Islands. I'm Ron Grant.
And my name is Javon Wilson. A beautiful Monday coming
Yes,
in from
indeed.
a really beautiful weekend, of course. Where else? The beautiful British Virgin Islands. But we're very happy to be joining you because there's so much for us to get into today. And viewers, what we want to do is kick off today on a very happy note, and we are celebrating quite a historic day in the BVI, but also for a very special young man, Mr. William Rymer, who is actually celebrating his 104th birthday today. Now, Mr. Rymer is also the grandfather of both Honorable Kai Rymer as well as Honorable Shari de Castro, who among many other persons are celebrating with him. So on behalf of 284 Media, I think on behalf of the territory.
Happy 104th,
this
Mr.
is
Rymer.
a big milestone.
Good stuff.
104 not out. And well, as well, viewers, over the weekend, very tragic news. Mr. Everton McMaster was shot dead in broad daylight last Friday. Now, members of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force are now investigating the homicide that left the 42-year-old dead. According to reports, the man was riddled with bullets just around 2 p.m. on Friday in Boggers Bay and pronounced dead at the hospital. Police said that no further information can be offered at this time, but investigations are ongoing. Now, Ron, this is a very tragic incident.
Yes.
We've seen somewhat of a rise in gun crime over the last few months in the BVI, and very daring in broad daylight, clearly in this case, and the second time in Boggers Bay. So very tragic story, but we'd like to send deep condolences to the family and friends of the deceased.
Most definitely. And continuing on the summary, police also made a major drug bust during a late-night operation. The police report said, and I quote, "Police can confirm that an operation was conducted in the Balsam Gut area on Friday evening, and a large quantity of drugs was seized. Investigations are active in this matter. Therefore, no further information can be released at this time." Jovan, lots to watch as the war on drugs and crime continues in the BVI.
Absolutely. Viewers, we're going to jump straight into our newscast for today. Now, a local teacher is now allegedly hospitalized due to a possible mold infestation at the Ivan Dawson Primary School. Now, teacher Cleopatra King de Freitas took to social media to express what she is calling a predicament. The Facebook post stated, and I quote, "Teachers are definitely suffering with the mold situation at the IDPS, which is the Ivan Dawson Primary School. People can sit back and talk what the hell they want, but we are the ones suffering." Now, the frustrated teacher also went on to say, and mind you, she is due to be airlifted overseas for further medical assistance. She further said, and I quote, "I'm laying in a hospital bed for 1 week now, waiting to be airlifted out with an IV in my neck because of negligence. It is time for action." Now, viewers, this is not the first time Ms. King DeFreitas has alleged that she has suffered at the hands of a mold infestation. A similar occurrence happened, according to her, at the Isabella Morris Primary School before she was transferred to the Ivan Dawson Primary School. Now, when contacted by our newsroom today, the Minister of Education and Culture, Honorable Natalia Whitley, said that the ministry has plans to address the issue. He said, and I quote, "The Ministry of Education takes the health and safety of its employees seriously. With the support of the Ministry of Finance, we are initiating a new round of mold cleaning in our schools. Ivan Dawson is among the schools that has already been assessed, and thorough cleaning should be completed shortly," end of quote. Now, mold infestation seems to be what we would consider to be like a recurring issue. It's popping up in our headlines across the territory for quite a number of years. We have seen schools being forced closed as well, Ron, because of this issue.
Yes, indeed.
But even though it's a serious one, seemingly residents are convinced that not enough is being done to alleviate some of these concerns throughout the territory. And reports show, of course, that when you look at the primary health hazards of mold in schools, you see issues like asthma, like
Yes.
allergies, mild to severe respiratory infections, eye irritation, and rashes. For example, like eczema. Ms. Freitas is hoping that her passionate plea will inspire some positive changes in the schools throughout the territory. Now, Ron, ever since we had the opportunity actually to speak to Ms. DeFreitas herself, and we will be speaking in depth to her later on this week. But definitely a troubling situation. But based on some additional reports that we received after speaking to Ms. DeFreitas, one of the things we've learned is that she has not been at the physical school for 7+ months. Another alarming report coming in from this story is a post that Ms. DeFreitas may have made, actually that she did make a few months ago, that highlighted her living conditions. So now persons are saying all of these elements now conflict what she is bringing as an accusation to the school system. But nevertheless, outside of those factors, Ron, the one thing we can say for sure in this situation is the fact that mold has definitely been an issue we've been dealing with for years.
Well, Jovan, as we always say, the older people always say, there are always two coins to a story, but I will not negate the fact that mold is an issue not only in schools, but a lot of government offices and buildings across the territory of the Virgin Islands. Persons throughout their lifetime serving the civil service for a number of years have later experienced severe illnesses based on the mold problem in a lot of different buildings across the territory.
Yes.
So it's definitely something to look at, and we're glad to see that there's a response from the Honorable Minister. Continuing on the local scene, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force continues the fight to remove guns from the streets with the arrest of 4 persons on firearm charges, while yet another life is lost due to gun violence. Less than 2 days prior to the murder of Everton McMaster of Boggess Bay, in an unrelated incident, 4 persons were charged for a Glock pistol and a loaded magazine uncovered after a search was executed at a premises in Nanny Key. Jointly charged with keeping an unlicensed firearm were Reno Alfonso and Paige Weeks Douglas, 19 of Seacows Bay, and Jasmine Christopher, 19 of Fort Hill, were also charged. All 4 appeared before the magistrate's court. Alfonso and Weeks were remanded to Her Majesty's prison, while Douglas and Christopher were granted bail in the amount of $40,000. Now, Deputy Commissioner of Police Alwyn James points to Friday's homicide and the surge in similar daytime shootings as an example of reckless, impulsive acts of violence trending recently. Now, he noted, with a firearm in the mix, loss of life is just about inevitable. So he again seeks the help of the public to identify persons with these illegal weapons. He said, and I quote, "In this year alone, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force seized 18 illegal firearms, including the one confiscated this week. However, there are sadly too many more out there. It is incumbent that we all engage in this fight by reporting to police the owners of illegal firearms and places where they are hidden, the deputy commissioner said. Now, persons, of course, with information about not only the identity of the individual responsible for Friday's shooting or for those in possession of illegal firearms are asked to contact the Rural Virgin Islands Police Force at Intelligence Unit 368-9339. Again, all information will be kept in the strictest confidence. The war on drugs continues. Viewers, we have so much more. Businesses now have until January to pay severance or rehire staff, and Safe Haven literally takes to the streets in outreach mission. That's a story you don't want to miss. All this and more when 284 News returns.
The win! Oh!
What are the hell
I'm freaking out!
is time?
284 News.
Coming to you live and direct from the beautiful British Virgin Islands.
What's poppin', what's really good, what's happening, what's up?
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now some much anticipated news,
Yes.
Ron. The Minister of Labour, Honorable Vincent Whitley, has now extended the temporary termination deadline to January 2021, as approved by the Cabinet of the Virgin Islands. Now, this was revealed in a public statement in which the minister said, and I quote, "Though I realize that this was indeed a hard decision to make, I am mindful of the woes of workers who desire to remain under the same employ and BVI businesses who may not prefer or cannot afford to sever and rehire workers." Now, with this in mind, I would like to again remind employers to be considerate to their employees by notifying them of any changes with their employment agreement and gaining their agreement to the changes prior to contacting the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the minister said. Now, viewers, on the 29th of May 2020, during an exclusive interview with us here at 284 Media, Minister Whitley announced plans to amend the Labor Code to make provisions for the extension to October 31st. The minister, during a recent meeting, further stated that the October 31st termination deadline will be extended to November 15th. To benefit employees as well as employees. However, that November 15th tentative date was rejected by some residents who said they have persons who are ready to go to work, and further requested that it be extended to December 15th or 31st. In response, the minister said he is trying to find middle grounds by seeking a balance. Now, with the recent statement, Honorable Whitley said, with the current pandemic in mind and the harsh realities being faced by both employers and employees, that's what would have inspired Cabinet's decision to extend to 2021. Now, while this works for the benefits of businesses, as we know, Ron, it comes as a detriment to our employees who have been essentially out of work since March of this year.
Yes, indeed.
So persons are rightfully rejoicing a little bit, and not really rejoicing because it's still a very dire situation, but at least we know now that they have up until January to sever or rehire persons.
Most definitely it is. It really isn't a situation to rejoice or not to rejoice. We continue to wish our minister the best in making decisions, and of course the wider working population. Continuing on, as a part of its vision, the Safe Haven Transitional Center, following COVID-19 protocols, took to the streets on Friday, 6 November 2020, sought out vulnerable individuals within our community and provided them with donated items. Now, the center was established in January 2015 under the Ministry of Health and Social Development. From its inception, Safe Haven began providing services to the needs of the wider community. This was done by conducting community outreaches which facilitated and distributed items to the less fortunate and mentally challenged within our territory. Currently, at its full capacity and unable to accept any new admissions, the population currently served its predominantly individuals who became displaced for one reason or the other. Now, for this community outreach, the acting director, Mrs. Neville George B., and the team came together and decided to donate items, some of which were purchased and donated by the staff members to individuals who are particularly in need. According to Mrs. George B., during our giveaway outreach, we targeted individuals who are vulnerable, possibly displaced, and who did not desire to seek assistance from living at the center or from the Ministry of Health and Social Development. Therefore, it was a caring and practical to do and go out to visit them. Now, residents who currently live at the center also gave items to donate from the little they had, and items like bottled waters, juices, gently used clothing, also donated by residents. Additionally, items that were given out included toothbrushes and toothpaste, fruit, biscuits, canned food, combs, brushes, a lot of necessities that could essentially benefit persons who are in need. Now, a few of the items given away at Friday were also donated in the past by the center by generous community-minded individuals and their stakeholders who love giving back. Now, the bags and the Safe Haven logo stickers used in the outreach were also donated by Tech Associates. Now, with the limited resources within our territory and this time, we are happy and blessed to be able to give back in this way. This type of outreach is something that we would like to be able to do more regularly. That the center therefore welcomes partnership and collaborations with private organizations to make this possible. We also welcome donations to the center, as there is always a need to better serve the residents and persons in need. Now, if you know anyone or want to contact the center to contribute, you may do so at 468-5815. Jovan, a lovely initiative, and the pictures really do justice. You could see the residents not only of the center giving back. Now, these are persons, understand this, these are persons, many of them who are living at the center, who are in need themselves, going out with workers, giving back to their fellow friends and persons on the street who need assistance. I just have to love it, and I commend them. I absolutely commend the staff at Safe Haven for a remarkable job, and we wish you much success.
Absolutely. Viewers, still ahead. We are live with Mr. Claude Skelton Cline on the highly debated U.S. election results. All that and so much more when 284 News returns.
Is business slow, cash flow down, hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media at cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
The wind. Oh! I'm freaking out.
Is time.
284 News.
Coming to you live and direct from the beautiful British Virgin Islands.
What's poppin', what's really good, what's happening, what's up?
Davis has won it for the Lakers.
Viewers, what an exciting countdown to the U.S. elections, but quite an unprecedented turn of events. So today to speak with us is Mr. Claude Skelton Cline, a fanatic himself as it relates to this process. Welcome, Mr. Skelton Cline.
Good to be here. Good to see you. How are things?
Things are good. Things are good, but very interesting as we examine what has unrolled in the United States of America. When we think about this election, it has definitely been very interesting. Lots of events played into the reality or the outcome of the elections. But did you project that on this day we would be seeing President-elect Joe Biden as well as Vice President-elect Ms. Kamala Harris?
Well, Javon, I certainly was hoping and praying that that would in fact be the results.
Okay.
It's clear that, Donald Trump and Mike Pence has been an error in the American sojourn that at least half the population wish never happened. And so what is striking for me, though, that, some 70 million plus of those voters supported what could have been a second term for a Donald Trump. You know, Donald Trump, who has demonstrated his racism, his bigotry, his misogyny, his hate and disrespect for women, his xenophobia
Yes.
for other peoples of other countries other than Anglo-Saxon. And so, I'm not a mental health service provider, but when you look at, there has to be something pathological, something compulsive about the lies. I mean, the news, the anchor persons on a varied television news have cataloged the myriad, the ongoing lies that this guy tells. And so I am pleased. I think I am hopeful that there is redemption for America after all. And it is so important to us, one, because of its cultural similarities, the currency that we use, our children and grandchildren and siblings, attend colleges there. And so because of its proximity to us, it matters what happens in America because it has a direct impact on us here in the Virgin Islands. So certainly I am elated. I am hopeful. The tough work is ahead, however. Kamala Harris, I should pause and back up and talk about her and how important it is that it has taken this long, 100 years after the women had the right to vote, 50 years after the suffrage, and to have a black woman, and a black woman not only of Asian but of Caribbean descent.
Absolutely.
It is just mind-boggling. So sometimes, you have to marvel at God. God moves in mysterious ways, but maybe he sometimes also moves in mischievous ways. Because I would not have thought that shortly, 4 years after Barack Obama, that you will have, for the first time, a woman who is black. Because, I expect a white woman.
Right.
But to have a black woman, so I'm hopeful. And I have renewed faith in the democratic experiment as it has been shown in the United States of America.
Now, one of the more exciting parts of the road to elections is how news anchors, like you mentioned, would measure the trends from the last election. What we see in a shocking turn of events this time around, key states like Pennsylvania, like Michigan, where you have lots of knowledge from, turning blue. And of course, other states like Georgia, not necessarily going to the party we expected them to go to. So speak to us about that. What do you think influenced that this time around?
Well, especially Michigan. I lived 20 years in the state of Michigan, in Detroit and Latham Village specifically. And interestingly enough, it's between 1988 up in 2016, Michigan had always in its presidential election chosen the Democrat nominee until Trump. And so, Mrs. Clinton took some stuff for granted and what those blue walls, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Maine, over on the outskirts, were really blue wall states. But for one reason or another, Trump was able to trump those states in 2016. So I was expecting, as long as African American people, it has a tremendous Arab population out there in Dearborn, Michigan. So I was not worried about Michigan. I was more concerned about what would happen in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. So clearly Joe Biden, a man who, how old is Joe? I think 74 years old.
73.
But there's another white, elderly male who can stand up to Trump in a kind of way that fellow white persons will understand. And I think that played a tremendous role. And with Kamala and her tentacles in the African American community and certainly in the Asian community, and then as a woman able to pull up the rear and solidify a win. So we remain hopeful. They have some difficult days ahead in the middle of a pandemic where America setting records every day with new cases and deaths. It's
Yes.
alarming. Needless to say, we were glad to hear Pfizer today announce that their testing for immunization
Yes.
vaccine is at a 90% rate. So we hope that that trend continues and something can come, to the market to help stabilize this world.
Absolutely. You just touched on one of the challenges the world oversaw this year, COVID-19, this pandemic. But in America, quite a hard hit. In addition to the economic fallout, we've seen about 1 million deaths, according to the rate that was recorded today. And in addition to that, a black revolution, because while we've seen the police brutality and these many adversities against black people in America, what we've seen this year is a true black revolution that followed the death of Mr. George Floyd. How influential do you think those factors were in determining who would be the next president of the United States?
I think very much so. And we heard it echoed both in Kamala, but especially in Joe Biden's victory speech. I mean, he talked about three basic things: the economy, this matter of addressing the pandemic, and racial justice. I mean, those were the three points in his speech. And so first, of course, he said we have to battle this issue of COVID-19. We have to get that under control in order to stabilize the economy. And he took the time to tell the people, listen, African Americans, I am very clear about you having my back, because Joe Biden was basically out until they got to South Carolina.
Right.
And Clyburn and those guys were able to mobilize the African American community, and that is what catapulted Joe Biden into becoming the nominee. And he went on to say, because I am very much aware that you have had my back, I am going to have your back. Absolutely. And we, even from the part of the Caribbean diaspora, must hold Joe Biden and America at large to their commitment to African American people.
Absolutely. Now, we touched on Kamala Harris a little bit before, but my goodness, Vice President-elect, a black woman, this is probably the closest as a woman we've been to the White House, well, outside of the beautiful Mrs. Michelle Obama, but quite a significant milestone for black women. What does her representation there mean for the region, as well as, I think, women in general?
Yes. To people of color of the whole, persons, brown and other ethnic minorities numerically who lives and as a part of the melting pot of America. I mean, she is the quintessential picture that you too can become. For every black girl, for every white girl, for every Asian girl in primary school can now look up and have a model, a picture. For the first time in America, the truth of the matter is this is one of the areas that the European countries, including the UK, has been ahead of us. That to date, the patriarchal system has remained predominant in the American culture. So Kamala coming to that office, the second most powerful position on the earth, is quite telling. And so it doesn't matter, I think, as I looked and the cameras scanned across, I think it was a Saturday night or Sunday night when they did the speech, and to see black girls and little white girls and different Asian girls, everybody looking and is magnetized by that picture. So she bespeaks hope. Her very presence tells the story that you too, yes we can, in the words to echo Barack Obama. And I'm happy. I'm thrilled. I'm hopeful again about for us as a people, because I truly believe that Donald Trump was, and might I add, for the next 2 months that he's there, remains an existential threat to mankind.
All right, I think you've summed it up all well, especially for Miss Kamala Harris, quite inspirational. It takes me back to the story of Rudy Bridges. Are you familiar with Rudy Bridges?
No.
Okay, so Rudy Bridges was the young black girl, the little black girl, the first little black girl to actually be placed in a school with other white kids. She was thrown out of the school, and it was a really historic moment for black people in America.
She was one of the 9 in the Arkansas in those schools, in the integration.
I don't think so. But equally, what strikes me as important about this story is also the fact that 100 years later, after Black people being given the opportunity to vote, here we have Miss Kamala Harris in the White House. So thank you so much for sharing with us.
Appreciate you having me.
All right, viewers, that was Mr. Claude Skelton Cline on the U.S. election results. We're continuing to follow this story and bring you the updates. But for now, that is all the time we have. You can check us out on 284media.com. We're also on Facebook at 284media. We're on Instagram and Twitter at 284BVI. My name is Javon Wilson, and this has been my pleasure. Thank you for joining us.